Hi, I'm Rory Cleary, and I'll be talking about the Least Developed Countries block. The Least Developed Countries group is the block within the UNFCCC that facilitates and adheres to the environmental and climate requirements of less developed countries in the attempt to counter climate change. Least Developed Country status is proclaimed at the United Nations. Currently, the UN identifies 49 countries as belonging to this group based on 3 key criteria: low income, high economic vulnerability, and weak human assets. Of the least developed countries, 33 are in Africa, 10 are in Asia, 1 is in the Caribbean, and 5 are in the Pacific. All but 1 is party to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. These least developed countries are especially vulnerable to climate change due to geographic and economic factors that render them ill-equipped to adapt and respond to climate change. Given these countries contribute the least to greenhouse gas emissions, there is a clear global injustice. While the LDC has previously demanded that the wealthier nations act in accordance with their responsibility for creating the problem and their capability for addressing it, in recent times it has committed to cuts in greenhouse gas emissions while calling on wealthier countries to show leadership on the climate change challenge. Representing 12% of the world's people, the least developed countries are a major part of the UNFCCC negotiating bloc, as acknowledged at the UNFCCC. The least developed countries and small island developing states amongst them are among the most vulnerable to extreme weather events and the adverse effects of climate change. They also have the least capacity to cope with and adapt to the adverse effects of climate change. It's within the UNFCCC the developing countries believe they have the best chance of achieving fair and equitable solutions. This was evident in a recent session of parties, COP7, which established a work program with the aim to create greater education, preparation and representation on climate change. The parties agreed to 1. Supporting the preparation and implementation of National Adaptation Programs of Action, NAPAs. 2. Strengthening existing and, where needed, establishing national climate change secretariats and/or focal points. 3. Providing training in negotiation skills and language. 4. The promotion of public awareness programs. And 5. The development and transfer of technologies, particularly adaptation technologies. One of the key goals of the LDCs is to produce NAPAs, National Adaptation Programs of Action. The NAPAs identify activities or strategies to deal with the developing countries' immediate needs in relation to adapting to climate change. The focus is on those needs that, if addressed casually, could increase vulnerability and lead to increased costs at a later stage. Through the NAPAs, stronger ties have been built from grassroots to policy-making levels in the LDCs, higher levels of awareness and stakeholder engagement. This strategy has been supported in the international community. Climate change is a two-level game that shifts between international diplomacy and domestic nullification. Whilst the LDCs want the same opportunities that exist in the global north, they accept that adaptation to climate change and development are inextricably linked. Pursuing adaptation projects will facilitate the economic development crucial to increasing a state's adaptive capacity. People in the LDC sector are beginning to understand this relationship, with the Global Environmental Facility recently noting that the provision of human needs essential for continued development, such as water supply, sanitation, food security and health, will be threatened by the adverse impacts of climate change, confirming that adaptation must be viewed in the context of development, not in seclusion. To fulfil global and domestic needs, the LDC's bloc has committed to support projects that increase its members' adaptive capacity and reduce the vulnerability of LDCs to climate change. Addressing primary needs that demand immediate action will be part of a broader effort to foster climate-resilient development. There is now a clear consensus that development must be integrated with adaptation. That is the challenge.